Hey guys, tonight we drift out beyond the veils of time into Celtic twilight sea salt wind and dreams that forget how to wake. You're about to step into a world where one silver branch can summon an entire journey, where waves don't always carry you back, and where time slips like mist through your fingers. You probably won't survive this, at least not in the usual sense. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it where you are. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. It begins when you find something strange resting on the doorstep of your quiet life. The branch is impossibly light, silver not like coins or jewelry, but more like moonlight given shape. Its tiny blossoms tinkle gently, each emitting a note like a harp, sighing in sleep. When you lift it, the world hushes. Even the gulls forget to cry. You're Bran feeble prince by birth, dreamer by accident. This branch doesn't belong in your world of dusty halls and real politics. It hums with something older, something that recognizes you, even before you recognize it. By morning, a woman appears, not by horse or ship or road, but in a beam of sun, as if she'd always been there. She sings. You don't remember the tune, only that it wraps around you like sea foam, and suddenly the branch in your hand vanishes as if it had always belonged to her, or to the sea, or to memory. She tells you there is another world, not the afterlife, not quite heaven, but an isle where sorrow forgets your name. It's not just an invitation, it's a summons, a call that your bones have been expecting for years. You build a ship, not a Viking war thing or Roman galley, but a sleek, curved vessel of yew and oak, smooth as a poem, each nail hammered with blessings. You bring men, loyal ones, the ones who've seen you stare too long into the horizon, who already suspected you were only half here anyway. The sea greets you not with waves, but with stillness. It's like sailing over polished stone. The water doesn't churn. It reflects clouds so perfectly you occasionally wonder if you're upside down. Mainstream scholars say this tale, Imran Bran, dates back to the 8th century, an Irish sea voyage genre, laced with Christian metaphors. But it's not all about salvation. No, this isn't a neat allegory, because alongside its biblical overtones swims something wilder, older, a whisper of pre-Christian belief. The Tuatha De Danann flicker through its margins, goddess shapes and island realms not yet filed away under sainthood. One fringe interpretation even claims the entire tale is a memory of psychedelic ritual. Perhaps the branch was mistletoe soaked in mead, a sacred object carried from the oak groves of the Druids, hallucinatory rather than heavenly. But whatever the truth, your ship slides into mist. It swallows the horizon. Days don't end. Time unspools. And then Land. At first, it's only a sound. Laughter. High, silvery laughter like a choir underwater. Then the scent, jasmine honey salt. Finally, the shapes appear an island with impossible geometry. Its cliffs don't just rise. They lean like they're listening to you. Your men hesitate. There's no surf, no tide. The island floats like a dream bubble that might pop if touched. But you step forward. Of course you do. Something inside you has already arrived. Bran, they call you. They've been expecting you. Now, let me just mention something odd. One old version of this tale includes a list 28 women waiting on the shore, all named, all smiling. Scholars still argue whether these represent goddesses, muses, or forgotten priestesses of an ancient cult. But here's what you see. A woman steps forward. The same voice, the same presence. She extends her hand not in greeting, but as if offering you a chance to breathe for the first time in your life. You take it, and as the others begin to dance silent, barefoot, weightless, you realize something. The music in their steps is the same as the silver branches' lullaby. You are home. For now, you glide forward, not quite walking, not quite floating onto the shore of a place that doesn't seem to belong to any map you've ever studied. The air is warm, but not heavy, like a held breath. There's no sun, but everything glows. The sand is silver-flecked and cool underfoot, humming softly, like it remembers footsteps that haven't happened yet. Your ship stays behind, no anchor. It simply waits patient as a dog in sleep. This is Emain Ablach, the island of apples, though no one here calls it that. To them it's simply home. You'll hear it in the way they laugh, move, and breathe. You, on the other hand, you're still testing gravity here. You blink too much, speak too loudly, step too heavily, but no one scolds you. The island seems amused. The woman, your guide, doesn't offer a name. She says names carry weight, and you've carried enough already. Here we drift lighter, she whispers, brushing your shoulder like wind. Your men are entertained at first. They drink from cups that refill without being touched, feast on meats that never bleed, and fruits that taste of forgotten summers. The food satisfies without heaviness. The more they eat, the more they smile. You notice the sky doesn't change. No sunrise, no sunset. The trees never shed. And laughter. It echoes even when no one's speaking. Is this heaven? One of your men dares to ask. No, she says, heaven has rules. There are no shadows on this island. You walk its length, find fountains that sing in languages older than Gaelic. You touch a tree whose bark feels like silk and whose roots hum lullabies. One curious soul tries to climb it. He's still climbing. Mainstream historians agree that Imram tales like this one reflect an early Irish obsession with boundaries between worlds, between senses, between belief and longing. They weren't just adventure stories. They were meditations on death, on ecstasy, on return. And return, that word itches inside you now. It's the oddest thing, because there's no need here. No one ages, no one weeps. One man tries to remember the face of his mother, but his memory slides off like water from wax. Even his own voice begins to feel borrowed. The fringe theory. Some scholars whisper about temporal rift experiences, echoes of a lost fae physics. They suggest Celtic myth preserves sightings of what we call quantum anomalies, realms outside linear time accessible by altered states or sacred geography. The sea in this view isn't just ocean, it's the veil. One night, or what passes for night, you hear music again, but it's not the laughter kind. It's sadder, deep, slow chords plucked from the bones of the earth. You follow it. It leads you inland to a glade where women dance in a spiral. At the center is a boy, maybe 5 or 6, holding a feather in one hand and a stone in the other. He smiles at you. You smile back. Don't forget, he says, you freeze. Not because of the words, but because you almost forgot what it meant to remember. The next morning, or hour, or minute, you find one of your men staring out to sea. There should be birds, he mutters. You hadn't noticed. There's no wildlife, no gulls, no crickets, not even a fly to spoil the fruit. Your guide appears beside you. You're remembering the weight of time, she says. That's the first crack. You look to the ship. Still waiting. Still possible. One man says nothing, but packs his belongings. Another weeps at the sight of his boots. A third has married a woman with silver eyes and refuses to even look toward the beach. And you start writing, scratching notes into bark, into sand, into your own palm if you must. You're afraid that if you stop, your name will vanish like mist. The word Bran might mean nothing soon, or worse, everything. Historians still argue whether Bran's journey was meant to symbolize death limbo or spiritual awakening. Some say he drowned. Others say he lived forever, trapped in the folds of myth. But standing here, you feel it's not about ending. It's about choosing the moment to return, and whether that moment chooses you back. You don't sleep here, not truly. You dream long, luxurious unfurlings of thought where you float through memory and prophecy at once, but sleep in the sense of surrender. No, the island won't let you. It cradles your mind, but keeps your body alert as if it suspects you might want to leave in the night. The woman, your guide, your not-quite host, takes your hand again. She leads you inland past glassy lakes and thornless briars to a great hall carved entirely from pearl. It pulses faintly like the inside of a seashell. At its center is a feast, an eternal one. Dozens of women recline on cushions. They sing songs you don't know but somehow remember. Their laughter lifts like incense. One of them gestures, and a cup floats into your hand. Another touches your cheek, then tilts your head to kiss your brow. You're loved here, not worshipped, not obeyed, just loved for who you are and for who you might be if you stayed. Your men are already deep into this life. One dances with a woman made entirely of light. Another tells riddles to a blind harpist who laughs like thunder. You alone are slow to let go. You taste a plum that dissolves into honey and smoke. You touch cloth that's woven from midnight. Every moment on this island folds time backward, wrapping you in a lullaby you never knew you needed. But beneath it all, something nags. You haven't seen the ship in how long now? You rise. The hall still echoes with merriment, but the floor trembles slightly. A harp string snaps in the distance, the sound sharp as breaking glass. You leave the Pearl Hall. No one stops you. That's the strangest part. They all smile serenely as though knowing something you don't yet grasp. You return to the shore, and your ship is still there. But the beach has changed. It's longer. The waves no longer kiss the sand. They hesitate, as if uncertain of your presence. You place a foot in the surf and recoil. It's ice. It never used to be ice. This is when you begin to suspect time has passed. Not for you, but somewhere else. The island, so lush and rich in sensation, starts to thin at the edges. The sounds echo too long. The smells don't cling. It feels stretched. The woman reappears beside you. If you go now, you can still return to what you ask. She smiles sadly to what was. You call your men. Two follow without question. One refuses holding his glowing partner's hand. Another simply vanishes mid-sentence, his name lost like a skipped stone. The others, you're not sure. They may have always been shadows here. A curious historical note: some medieval Irish scribes claimed Emin Ablach was a metaphor for monastic withdrawal, sweet, isolated, timeless. A cloistered joy that ultimately estranged one from the world. But there's a darker theory, too, that this island represents the seductive nature of escapism, the danger of bliss without boundaries. Scholars still argue whether Bran's island was meant to be paradise or a trap. The final boat is lighter. The tide somehow has returned. As you and the remaining few row into the morning mist, you turn back. The island isn't there. No cliff, no shimmer, just sea. But your guide's voice lingers in the wind. You'll be remembered for remembering. There's a tug in your chest, not painful, just odd, like nostalgia that hasn't happened yet. Your men ask nothing. You sail in silence. Only the sea speaks, and it murmurs in riddle. The sea greets you differently now. Before it had been still and mirror-like, an obedient surface. Now it breathes again, rippling with quiet menace, rising and falling like a chest in restless sleep. The oars creak more loudly than they should. The clouds above are no longer pure white, but tinged with bruised violet. You're not sure how long you've been rowing, or rather, drifting. There's wind again, but it doesn't come from any direction you can name. It swirls, then disappears, like the weather is trying to remember how to behave. You try to speak to your men. One replies in a language you don't recognize. Another simply smiles, eyes vacant, lips twitching, as if remembering a joke no one told. You look at your hands. The lines in your palms seem deeper now, etched, ancient, and then land. But not home, not yet. The island rises before you like a page torn from a fever dream. It is green, but not natural green, too saturated. The hills curl unnaturally, and trees bend against gravity. A bridge of reeds beckons you ashore. You don't remember deciding to dock. You just do. This is the island of joy, they call it. Everyone is laughing. Not just the inhabitants, your crew too. The moment their boots touch earth, they collapse in fits of giggles. You join them unwillingly. It starts small, just a chuckle. But then your ribs begin to ache. Tears stream down your cheeks. You can't stop. One man laughs so hard he forgets to breathe. Another rolls into the bushes, still gasping. Your sides cramp. Your face is soaked. And all around you invisible hands seem to tickle the memory of sorrow out of your chest. Hours pass this way, maybe days, and then the silence hits. No one makes a sound. Your crew stands stiff as statues, eyes hollow. The laughter's echo lingers in the air like smoke after a fire. You flee back to the boat, your feet barely touching the earth. The island releases you without struggle, like it's finished with you. Historians suggest the island of joy may represent the dangers of emotional excess, a place where feeling eclipses memory and identity becomes noise. Others call it a cipher, an exaggerated version of courtly revelry, a warning against indulgence. But the fringe interpretation, there's a strange little 13th century gloss in a marginal text claiming the island is a spill from a dreaming mind. Not a place, but a leak some druid's consciousness spilling into reality. You're not visiting it. You're swimming through someone else's forgotten joy. Back at sea, the silence is a balm. You don't speak. You don't need to. Your ship moves again, the ocean surprisingly calm, perhaps grateful that you've escaped. Then another island, smaller, smoother. This one is all white stone and soft breezes. You approach warily, but no laughter greets you, no music. Just the smell of cinnamon and sea air. You land. There's a hall, no roof, just columns stretching up into nothing. Inside are seats and figures, old unmoving cloaked in moss. You realize this is a feast, one that never ended. Platters remain full, cups brimming, musicians mid-note frozen in song. And seated at the head of the table is a woman in a crown of woven ivy, her head bowed in permanent prayer. You whisper. No one stirs. This is the island of the feast, and it has forgotten that guests need to leave. You sit. Food appears hot and fragrant. You do not touch it. One of your men breaks a loaf and offers it to you. You take it and place it back on the table. You've learned, finally, not every gift is a blessing. Historians still argue whether this island was meant to reflect the Celtic concept of Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth, or whether it's a cautionary tale about forgetting death, a liminal realm where life goes on without change and thus without meaning. You stand, and so do the frozen musicians. Their instruments vanish, their hands fold. The queen lifts her head, no face, just light. She nods. You turn and leave. Behind you, the feast dissolves into wind. And again, the sea. The sea is darker now, not stormy, but deeper, like it's listening. You row slowly, your arms moving out of habit, not will. The water slaps the hull in a rhythm almost too steady, like a breath being held and released just beneath your boat. One of your men murmurs in his sleep, "You didn't know he'd fallen asleep. You didn't know you had." When your eyes next open, fog surrounds you, not mist fog, thick, wet, intentional. You can't see your own knees. The boat creaks. Your breath hangs like threads in the air. Somewhere faintly you hear footsteps, but there's no land, just fog footsteps and the occasional thud like distant drums heard through a wall. You grip the edge of the boat and stand. It feels absurd, like standing in a dream you never meant to enter. But the boat obeys. It doesn't tip. It glides forward slow and soundless. Then shore, not visible, felt. The boat scrapes something solid. You step onto it. Sandstone. It doesn't matter. The fog curls around your boots like a living thing. A figure waits for you. Not the women of the other isles, not spirits or singers. This one is cloaked in shadow, and yet the shadow shines. When it speaks, its voice is both child and elder man, and woman joy and grief, braided together. You've come far. You nod. But do you remember why you left? You try to answer. No words come. You're not the first. The figure continues. Not the first to forget the edge of the story. The fog begins to part, not with wind, but with motion. Dancers, pale figures, moving in and out of vision. They don't step, they drift. Each movement smooth, hypnotic. You realize they're not performing for you. You're just watching something ancient resume. One of the dancers brushes past your shoulder. You feel a memory that isn't yours of frost on a cradle of a wolf's eyes. Just before it blinked, another glides by. And suddenly, you remember a tune you've never sung but always loved. The fringe scholars call this the fog people, not gods, not ghosts, something in between. Some believe they were once druids who passed fully into the other world so deeply they became part of it. Others think they are reflections of who you might become in other versions of this tale. Mainstream scholars, they scoff. They say it's metaphor and abstract representation of memory and transformation. But they weren't there. You are. You walk among them. The dancers weave around you in silence now. You begin to see their faces. Some are yours, some are your men. One is the woman who gave you the silver branch. Another is your mother, how she looked when you were 5. You stop. You remember. You remember your village, your father's laugh, the smell of peat smoke, the taste of boiled barley and milk. You remember why you left, not to escape, but to return. Changed. The dancers fade. The fog lifts. You're on a beach again. Your men stand beside you, silent pale eyes, wide like those who've seen thunder swallow the sky. Behind you, the fog people are gone. Ahead of you across the sea lies home. But as you prepare to board the ship, the figure returns. Not all of you will make it, it says softly. Some things don't pass back through the veil. Who won't you ask? It only smiles. Historians still argue whether the return from the other world is meant to be literal or symbolic. Some suggest that once touched by fey magic, a mortal can never fully belong again. Others believe the journey itself is a purification. What matters is not the place, but the passage. You step onto the ship. It feels heavier now. So do you. The wind returns. Not a storm, but a push, a breath behind your shoulders, urging the boat home. Your sails untouched for what feels like a lifetime suddenly billow. The sea accepts you again, but it's not the sea you left. The water is no longer glassy. It's rippled with memory shades of faces, islands, laughter dancing just beneath the surface. You swear you see the woman with the silver branch wave from a cresting wave before she dissolves into foam. You are returning, and yet, as the coastline appears, your stomach coils. There's something wrong with the land. It's unfamiliar. The cliffs are sharper, the trees taller, the beach longer. You blink and look again. It's still Ireland, but not the Ireland you knew. You beach the ship. Your feet touch the shore. It does not recognize you. You walk inland. Fields where you once hunted now lie wild. Stones you carved your name into have crumbled or been overgrown. You ask a shepherd the name of the land. He stares, repeats your question back to you. You ask if he knows of Bran MacFeeble. He laughs politely the way one does at a stranger's bad joke. He points you toward a crumbled ruin. The old names, he says, that one comes from the stories. You walk to the ruin. It's your home, or it was. What's left is a circle of stones half swallowed by moss. No roof, no beds. The place smells not of peat smoke, but damp earth. You find bones in the corner. Human animal time doesn't say. The men who came with you are speechless. One kneels and weeps. Another walks until he disappears into the trees. A third just sits staring at his hands as if waiting for them to remember who they are. You try to speak your own name aloud. It sounds foreign. Somewhere deep inside, you remember a line from a tale once told at a winter fire. He who stays too long in the land of no sorrow cannot return whole. Mainstream historians agree this is the core tragedy of Bran's tale. The voyage is heroic, the sights wondrous, but the return is the heartbreak, because you cannot come home unchanged, and home cannot wait forever. One quirky tidbit: a single medieval source insists Bran never actually returned to Ireland's soil. Instead, he circled the island in his ship, calling to those on shore like a ghost ship passing through the fog. They heard him, they saw him, but no one could touch him. That version ends with him vanishing over the western horizon, the waves closing quietly behind him. You walk through your ruined hall and find something impossible: your old hound's collar, rusted but intact. You clutch it like a relic, a keepsake, proof that you were once here, that your life wasn't just a half-remembered dream. The villagers gather slowly, curious. A bard among them stares at you for a long while. Then he says your name carefully. Bran MacFeeble. You nod. He bows, but you can tell he doesn't believe you. Not entirely. You speak to him of the island of women who drink sunlight, of dancers in fog, of feasts frozen in time. He writes it down. You watch him shape your journey into a tale, not a testimony, a story. And you realize this is the part no one tells you, the hardest part. You came back, but your life didn't. Historians still argue whether Bran's journey was real or imagined, symbolic or supernatural. But standing here watching your own legend begin to crystallize in another man's ink, you understand the truth. You're no longer a person. You're a myth now, and myths don't go home. You sit beside the sea again, not the same sea you once crossed, not truly. This one stares back at you. It knows. The tide moves in slow sighs, curling around your boots and dragging with it the last whispers of your story. You're older now, though the mirror doesn't show it. Something in you bends differently. Time clings to your bones like seaweed, the kind you can't quite shake off, no matter how dry the sun gets. The ship is still there, the one that brought you home, or tried to. Your men are gone, scattered. One vanished into the forest and was never seen again. Another built a hut by the shore and stopped speaking altogether. the last he told his story. Once then walked into the sea, didn't even look back. And you stay. You become something of a curiosity. A man who claims to be a prince from another time, who tells tales of silver branches and islands that shimmer like breath on glass. The children believe you, the elders nod, but step back. The bard still visits. His notes have turned your journey into something epic, polished. But every retelling smooths out the rough parts, softens the ache, replaces the haunting with heroism. You want to correct him, but what's the point? He's not writing you. He's writing what you became. There's one detail he never quite gets right the last dream. The one that still visits you. It always begins the same way. You're standing at the edge of water ankle deep. The horizon is still. A woman steps from the mist. Her feet don't disturb the tide. She holds out the silver branch, yes, that silver branch music and all, and says nothing. You follow her, not out of longing, but because part of you never left. The dream lingers long after you wake. The scent of her hair like rain on warm stone. The taste of that plum that dissolved into honey and smoke. You can feel the weight of the feast in your stomach, the ache in your ribs from laughter, the cold sting of the island of joy. The fog dances behind your eyes. One morning, you wake, and your footprints are already leading toward the shore. The boat is gone, but you keep walking. Not fast, not eager, just steady. As if each step pulls you back into a rhythm you'd forgotten you knew. And when the sea reaches for you again, you let it. One last curious detail. There's a ruined stone at the edge of the cliff, now marked only with a spiral and a single word, Bran. No dates, no lineage, no tale. The story has already been told. Scholars still argue whether you ever existed at all. But the sea remembers, and sometimes, on the quietest nights, the silver branch sings again. Just for a moment, just for you. So now, as you lie still beneath your blanket, and the hum of the fan swirls around you like sea mist, let that final image rest with you. A quiet shore, a boat waiting, the fog not as something to fear, but as something that softens the edges of everything sharp. Memory, time, pain. You've journeyed far tonight. You've tasted honey and sorrow. You've seen joy so deep it frightened you. And you've returned not quite the same, but perhaps a little closer to the center of who you are. Let your mind drift gently now like Bran's ship upon the glass sea. There is no need to steer, no need to row. Just let the tide carry you. You're safe, you're held. The voices of the fog people have faded their songs, now part of your own breath. The woman with the silver branch has turned away not in rejection, but in trust. You'll find your own path now, even if it bends in circles, even if it leads back to sleep. And in the distance, perhaps, just beyond the next dream, the island of women still waits, not to trap you, but to remind you that even in stories, you matter. Rest now. Breathe deep. The sea has sung its song, and you are home.